You know what? Give me any documentary and have Liam Neeson narrate it. I'm in. So Manny is directed by Gast and Ryan Moore, and this is about Manny Pacquiao. Yes, that's how you pronounce it. It's not Pacquiao. It's really Pacquiao. Like, try and practice that at home, kids. Pacquiao. And this is pretty much a chronicle of his life. You know, it really is kind of like a thorough examination of this guy from his beginnings as this young kind of upstart in his home of General Santos, and all the way up to right before he fights Brandon Rios, I believe. The documentary really delves into lots of different things about Manny. Like, they acknowledge the fact he's more than just a boxer, he's a politician, he's a Bible ambassador apparently. And the documentary is mostly interviews and stuff, but you also have really nice footage in here and lots of other things. Now, Manny Pacquiao's reputation in the Philippines in regards to entertainment is kind of like, it's something we don't really want to talk about because there's this movie called Wapak Man, which I heard was absolutely terrible. And as one of the interviews say in the documentary, Manny Pacquiao just doesn't really know when to say no. So, he has that. He has a singing career, quote unquote. So I was a bit, you know, hesitant going into this because I was thinking, like, Manny Pacquiao movies. But, the fact that I heard Liam Neeson's going to be narrating it, I heard Mark Wahlberg was going to be at least talking in it. So I was pretty much in from there. And what we have here is a portrait of Manny Pacquiao, at least in this point in time, and it's definitely very pro Manny, and that's both a good and a bad thing, but it's still kind of insightful in its own ways, I guess. I'm not really sure how to talk about documentaries exactly, because I'm not so used to watching them. You can't really judge them in terms of acting, writing, and stuff. But on the technical side, I guess I can say that the editing of this documentary was kind of a mixed bag also, because they tackle so many things and they don't really divide it in very accessible ways. The movie does end up feeling quite slow sometimes. I think this documentary actually would have been helped by the use of, clear dividers and stuff. However, despite some slow parts, when the documentary gets going with like really actiony parts like the boxing and just even the way this documentary starts and ends, I thought was really edited well because of like how much footage they had, and they really were able to toy around with it. That's fun. I guess I can also say that there was good music in this for the most part, I suppose. And in terms of the directors, I'm not really sure how to judge a director of documentaries because usually information comes to them; they're the ones seeking it out. So, but I can tell that they are fans of Manny Pacquiao. They weren't skeptics. They weren't going into this thinking, okay, let's try and expose him or something like that. You could tell that these guys were fans, and again, that both hurts and helps the movie. The absolute best part of this documentary, though, is definitely when it shows fights up close and in slow mo. Because when you watch boxing, I'm not a huge fan of boxing, but when you watch boxing like live and stuff, it all happens so quickly, And when you slow it down, go closer, you really see how painful of a sport this is. But what I love so much about at least watching boxing, the few times I watch it, and just it's just so emotional, and Manny Pacquiao really brings that because he's such a quick fighter. He's so aggressive. So like these fights become very dramatic. This documentary also has a funny side because at least the part where they show Manny Pacquiao singing is hilarious because he isn't really the greatest singer in the world at all, and I think Jimmy Kimmel puts it best. Like no one is brave enough to tell him that he's not the best singer, so they just kind of let him sing. And this documentary also has insight in it. Like I said, you really get a sense of what drives this guy and how he affects his country. Not everything he does for the country like really comes off super well. Like there's lots of doubts about his priorities and stuff. But part of me is thinking maybe this insight is accidental. Like it's not necessarily the film giving it to us. It's really kind of the audience, or at least me thinking it up by myself. I don't know. Now, there's a lot of content here because there really is a lot to talk about when you talk about Manny Pacquiao, but I really did think they left out certain things. Like, for one, I wanted to know more about his family, especially him growing up. I wanted to hear more about the people's reaction to Manny Pacquiao because all the interviews here are very high profile, like journalists and stuff. But I really wanted to hear like more man on the street kind of things because he really has impacted the Filipino people in a profound way, and I just really wanted to hear more from them. And I'm not a Manny Pacquiao hater. I think he's amazing. I think he's adorable also, strangely enough. But I really would have liked to see more negatives just so this film would be more fair and give him like a more just portrayal. Because they do touch on certain things like him being kind of unfaithful to his wife at a certain point. And I'm not saying we have to like completely expose that, but they just really do kind of gloss over it. But it is an important thing. However, all the interviews they had were very, relevant and memorable. You really do get to meet his crew, the people who train him, and I really, really enjoyed that because they really are like the people behind the scenes who helped make Manny Pacquiao who he is today. In the end, this is like a good character piece on Manny. I mean, it's not like the definitive "this is Manny Pacquiao." It's definitely like a fan's film, but it's still entertaining. It's still enjoyable. Although objectively speaking, it's not necessarily like a really good documentary because it feels like an infomercial kind of. It's very pro Manny, like I said. Now, honestly, some people will want just lots more controversy, especially here in the Philippines. Just actually, it's not that pro Manny anymore. Like there are a lot of people kind of calling him out for certain things. There's like tax evasion controversy and stuff. But you know what? There was still applause when this film ended, which was really cool to see because when you have international filmmakers talking about a Filipino like Manny Pacquiao, it really does bring pride. It's just the fact that he was able to get this far and was able to inspire lots of people. I mean, I myself can't help but feel proud and inspired in a way. Like, again, I'm not a boxing fan, but I recognize how much he has accomplished and how he came from nothing and now he's here. Start from the bottom, now we're here. He really does inspire me kind of to, do things for other people because you can tell he's very sincere about that. Yep, that's my review of Manny. What do you guys think of Manny Pacquiao? What do you guys think of this documentary? If you've seen it, do you think Pacquiao should fight Floyd Mayweather? Because they touch on that in the film, and I just really, really want to see that. Because yeah. Anyway, whatever you guys think, whether you agree with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.